It almost seems like you guys are over a barrel, over an oil barrel, because you almost have to play this game with Congress and now with the governors, because it's the governors that rule the CARB. And so you're caught in this game, but would there ever be a chance that the auto manufacturers might come together and say, look, fine, we will stop making every single car that we can't get over 35 miles to the gallon? And that's when the customers will actually revolt?
I think that will probably be unrealistic. What could well happen is that the cars will become priced so prohibitively due to tax penalties and so on that the customers will revolt anyway. Mm-hmm. I don't think the automakers themselves would follow the route almost of a boycott strategy. That is not something. The market is just far too competitive, and we don't have cartels. We do have the Automotive Alliance, where simply the industry comes together and exchanges ideas, and the industry generally has a very common stance on this issue. It's not our company alone. It is generally all manufacturers share the same view, that the pursuing a path of setting unrealistic fuel consumption targets is not one that will bring the desired results.
Has any part of the Auto Alliance actually gone to CAFE and said raise taxes?
Not to my knowledge. I am not that closely informed about the alliance.
Well, on the diesel side, right now you can do B10 on your engines. When will you get to the point where you can actually go higher than that?
The law of diminishing returns applies here too. And obviously the further you go with cleaning up the engines, the cost-benefit relationship begins to be unfavorable. We think that with the engine that we introduced today, and which will be commercially introduced by the end of next year in our Audi Q7, really does take us through to cover at least the next decade in terms of what is economically and realistically required and achievable. Truly, once you're able to analyze the emission characteristics, I think that we are pretty close to having the ultimate engine with great fuel consumption, great driving characteristics, and very, very low, ultra low emissions.
You're coming out with flex fuel vehicles as well.
We are looking at, of course, all avenues, and we recognize that there are also strong lobby groups that are promoting the use of ethanol. Ethanol has got disadvantages. For example, it has a lower energy content, so that in fact increases the use of fuel. It does have the benefit that it substitutes imported fuels, so that is an obvious positive point. But there's also an important downside to ethanol in the way that it's produced today. It is interfering with the food chain. Ethanol uses an enormous amount of water. Something like 900 gallons of water to produce 1 gallon of ethanol fuel. And so one must have questions about the sustainability of ethanol as a really long-term viable alternative. Certainly
this
while
first
it's produced,
generation.
Exactly right. I was about to say, while it is produced from corn,
right.
We can find other technologies which might be much more efficient and that might offer a longer-term solution that's more viable.
But you still are coming out with flex fuel vehicle.
We are. We obviously recognize too that there are market trends, and being responsive to what is happening in the market similarly. Although we believe diesel technology has far more benefits than hybrid technology, we are also introducing a hybrid. We need to be responsive to customer expectations and demands as well.
Bob Tippie from the Oil and Gas Journal once told me that about a couple years ago, he said, there is no such thing as an alternative fuel. We need every fuel we can get. And you indeed are bringing out every engine for every fuel that's being offered right now.
Yeah, that is correct. I think, though, in the long term, we have to recognize the day will arrive when fossil fuels are going to be prohibitively expensive due to their limited availability. And so that is why today's discussion was also giving a longer-term perspective, talking about fuel cell technology and how we can find really ultimate alternative solutions But alternative fuels, there are alternative fuels technically speaking. But I think, as one of the speakers pointed out, we need to avoid the situation where a customer drives up to the gas station and is faced with an array of fuel types, 10, 14, 15 nozzles from which to choose. I think that is also not a practical solution. We think that a certain number of these fuels will dominate. We believe diesel to be one of them, and whether it is then fossil fuel-based diesel or biodiesel, that still has to evolve. But this really does represent a very, very attractive alternative for the medium term.
Johan, thank you very much.
My pleasure.